Welcome to Champion This podcast with Brianna, Salvatore, Dueck, and Chelsea Poppens, where we share the incredible stories of athletes and entertainers who are using their platforms for good in the world and the communities they live in.
Today we are recording our season finale. We are shocked. We've had over 14 guests on the podcast. Some really incredible powerhouse athletes and entertainers who really are championing different causes and using that platform to make the world a better place. So in today's episode, we're going to kind of recap the season a little bit, share with you what you can expect for next season, season 2, and kind of share some of those highlights and what we were able to learn both from our guests and through actually hosting a podcast and what it entails.
Yeah, it's been we've come a very long ways from the beginning of learning all the intricacies and how to figure out how to make a podcast on our own through the video editing, the social clip generating, to even just like marketing ourselves a bit better and being vocal. It gets kind of hard when you have to like hype yourself up and like push it in people's faces and learn what works, what doesn't work. And it's been a good road. It's been a journey, and it's only just beginning.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, lots of amazing lessons learned along the way. There's no one I'd rather do it with than you, Chelsea. So.
Aw. Art. Also, I mean, we're recording. Obviously, we look and sound so much better today. Thank you to Ryan Schnodd. He's in the room with us today with Schnodd Media Group. He allowed us to use this podcast for our season finale. And also, we're going to plug his podcast, Rhymes with Odd by Ryan Schnodd podcast, and he's interviewed about 51 local Iowa-based entrepreneurs and business leaders. And it's just a very, very great podcast where they talk about a range of topics from real estate to gym, business ownership, to even I had the opportunity to be a guest on it and share my story playing in the WNBA and overseas, and ultimately talking about working at the marketing agency that I work at now as COO. Just a really cool podcast. So tune in, take a listen, subscribe, support what he's doing. It's a great one.
100%. Thank you again. This is awesome. We want to jump into the episode, and I'd love to kick it off with a question to you, Chelsea. And that really is, do you have a favorite episode or a guest that we were able to record this season, and why? And I know it's hard to choose just one.
I can't choose my child.
I know.
Between my children.
Or I guess a couple of highlights for you.
Yeah. I know you share the same sentiment of all of them were very unique in their own like episode and the things that were shared in the stories. So like ultimately, like I think there's highlights of like each and every episode that I just really golden nuggets of people's stories that I think were huge takeaways, not for me personally, but also think for our listeners. The most recent one was Julia Scholes. Is that right? Scholes. Julia Scholes. And she shared like her faith journey. She's a professional beach volleyball player for AVC and Team USA, and she shared her experience and how she got to that elevated elite level of play, but also sharing how faith intertwines with that journey, and like idolizing your sport and having to rework your relationship with God. And you and I are both of faith. So I know the podcast isn't faith focused, but it was really cool to be able to share our stories and our experiences and to like relate to her in the moment and the things that she was doing. So like I really love that. And I know faith has kind of been laced like throughout a lot of the conversations with the guests that we have, from Charlie Cancino to Isaiah Weatherspoon. Like it's just kind of been here and there. So that's really special to be able to relate to them in that way with something that's so meaningful to the both of us.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely been really encouraging. And one thing that stood out to me a lot with Julia's podcast was she talked about when we're in trials, like really keeping hope in the midst of trials. And for her, a lot of that hope does come from her faith. And so she shared this verse in Romans that talks about God working out everything for the good of those who love him. And so she also mentioned this past year, you know, she went through 2 knee surgeries. She's like, all right, we're in the middle of it. This is rough, but I know God had something on the end of this. So lots of really wonderful, encouraging, powerful moments from our guests. But yeah, I agree with you. Those were some incredible episodes, and that faith element was really encouraging to me as well. I also loved Hannah's episode.
Ooh, yeah.
Hannah, shout out to our girl, former track star at Dartmouth. She's a full-time content creator now, former ESPN, NBA. But she just really is so incredibly positive and encouraging. And she also shared a lot around like chasing your dreams. And like a piece of advice is, whatever you do, don't stop pursuing that thing that you love. She mentioned for her, that's playing saxophone, still playing pickup. Even though, she didn't play professional basketball, she still loves basketball.
And even though she's not getting paid for it.
Right. But like to see how she's channeled a lot of her passion into even now like her career, where she is a sports content creator and basketball being kind of front and center of that too as well. I think such a good word to not give up on your dreams and those things you're passionate about.
Yeah, she's an absolute grind. Like, she works all the time, and she's always so positive and uplifting and truly inspiring. But also what I took away on the business side of her podcast was she gave a little bit of advice to listeners about even if you're in your career and you're figuring out what area you want to navigate, or maybe you're not even doing the things that you want to be doing to get that done, but also be looking for avenues to do the things that you want to do, to be creative, to go the extra mile in order to get down the road that you actually want to be pursuing. And I think that's like, for me and as an agency, I related to that because we have people come in that they don't know what they're doing and they don't look for things to do, but also they don't ask.
Yeah.
So like being super helpful to your like the higher ups in order to help share your vision or your passions, and so that they can feel like you're supporting them, but also like how can they like support you and where you eventually want to end up 5 years, 10 years down the road.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. It's interesting too because there were, we covered a range of topics on the pod, and we had different champions who were championing various causes, whether that be like gender equity in sports or climate action or disability inclusion through Chelsea Hill and Matt Scott. And it was really cool to see each of our guests kind of whatever their passion is, whatever their purpose is, could be so different, right? Like the different topic, but still being able to say, you know what, I'm going to lean into this and like make the world a better place, which I think also plays into like understanding how each of us is knit and like what we care about and what's on our hearts and being able to go out and do something about it. But yeah, speaking of like disability and inclusion, Matt Scott was one of our first guests.
Yeah. Shout out, Matt. Let's go.
Powerhouse. Yes, he's over in Paris now, sideline reporting for the Olympics. We'll see if he's going to be out there for the Paralympics as well. But yeah, absolute powerhouse. Did you have any couple moments from his episode that really stuck with you as well?
I just love how it's like inspiring. His story, obviously being a Paralympian, but also he works at Visa. Like he also has a mundane daily job that he's doing, but he's able to make an impact outside of that in whatever he's trying to do. Like Fly Without Limits, his foundation, his nonprofit that he runs outside of like just day-to-day work, I think is truly inspiring that to anybody listening, that whatever they're doing, even if they don't think that it's inspiring or motivating, like they have avenues to go do something with whatever platform they're doing. They don't have to have 50K, 100K followers. Like they can do anything that they want to do. But like he's just a great human being, and I love the episode and everything that we covered. Yeah,
for sure. I also, echo everything that you say. Matt is incredible. I also loved Chelsea's episode as well. Chelsea Hill, for those of you that don't know, or hopefully you know because you've watched the podcast.
Watched or listened.
Season or listened, exactly. She's a professional wheelchair dancer, founder of the Rollettes, which is a professional wheelchair dance crew.
And Boundless Babes,
nonprofit alongside that. But she also is just doing such incredible work. She just hosted a camp, I think in San Diego, where she brought together hundreds, if not thousands, of professional wheelchair dancers. And they were able to kind of come together, encourage one another, put on some, like, learn a bunch of skills around dance, perform those routines, and really just kind of empower women and help them to really understand their full power and potential in all areas of life. So really love what Chelsea's doing. And shout out to our girl as well. One
thing that sticks out from her interview for me specifically is that I remember her saying that anybody can do what you're doing, but not everybody can do it how you would do it. And that was just I don't know, just like something that she said that really carried over to pretty much every other podcast after that. And like every one of these people are doing something that anybody else could be doing. But the way that they're doing it is special.
Yeah.
And the morals and the values and the way they carry themselves and the mission behind what they're doing is what we love sharing those type of stories because they're so inspiring and so motivating.
Yeah.
But like we asked her how she got, or was it how she got into doing what she's doing? And she's like, I honestly don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. Mm-hmm. She's like, my dad really supports me. And like, he's like, what if we do this? And they just go at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's truly inspiring too.
Yeah. Such a go-getter. And I love that. It's so true. Like no one can do something the way that you can do something. And it's like, I think leaning into your unique giftings and your personality, and really, I think in today's culture with social media, a lot of people are trying to fit in with a crowd and just like go with the flow instead of like, no.
And what's trending?
Right. What's
How
trending?
can I shape my personality to what is trending online right now?
Yeah. Or try to become someone that you're not because you're trying to be liked or whatever. But I think really leaning into understanding like who you are, who God made you to be, and shining that light like fully as you and leaning into those passions. So I love that. It was awesome.
Was there any other episodes or guest highlights that stand out for you?
Oh, man, I could share something from literally every episode.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Olivia Ho with Give and Grow.
Yes.
That was one where she talked about how exhausting it is being an entrepreneur and having to carry or do multiple different things. Like you got to be willing to sweep the floors at night. You got to be willing to close it up. You have to be willing to show up to the workshops all day open and do these things, and you're going nonstop. But no matter how exhausting it is, like it's super fulfilling for her, because that's like what the more you give, the more you grow.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole meaning of her nonprofit. Yeah.
I think it's it's on the line. It maybe is both. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. But just the whole core of her business and what she's trying to do and the impact she's trying to have with her workshops in young women and underprivileged areas. Like she's just trying to have a huge impact. And the fact that like you're doing something so life fulfilling, it is going to be exhausting because, I mean, you got to find your people that are going to come along that journey with you.
Yeah, totally. And how about shout out to our guy Smooth, Dmitry from Ukraine, who this man is so courageous. He is our professional dunker and Harlem Globetrotter guest and friend who used his platform to denounce the war going on in Ukraine, the attack of Russia on Ukraine.
Drop buckets, not bombs.
Drop buckets, not bombs. Launched a clothing line, got a bunch of money donated to families in need. And really helped to really spread the word and spread truth and advocate for that peace. So really loved kind of what he stands for and what he's doing. And he exemplifies in a wildly powerful way the power of really using your platform to uplift others and to make the world a better place. So love that episode. Also want to shout out our boy Nick Ansem, founder of Hoop Buzz and Venice Ball. This man is wild. You said it so in the best way. Chelsea said in the car, what were you saying about, I love the point you made.
I said that that episode was truly about, like, you can be an adult but still find time to play.
Yes.
Like, find ways to play. Like playing pickup, like you can find your inner child no matter what age you are, and it's really important to find that, because I'm like, otherwise you're just kind of going about your business and not finding the things that fill you up. And like he's truly just somebody that embodies like doing good works and creating great communities.
Yeah.
And just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Like, I think we take it too seriously, especially as athletes. We're like, we play D1.
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't need to play pickup. Like, but yeah, just having fun with it again, I think is really special.
Totally. I echo that. Being a part of the Hoop Bus, I'm fortunate enough to be on the board of advisors, and it's helped me to fall in love with basketball in a whole other way, because the whole mission and heartbeat of the Hoop Bus is really to spread love through buckets, to go out with this school bus with a basketball hoop on the front of it and just love on communities and help kids find their joy and passion for basketball again, or for the first time. And there's something like so magical and beautiful about it. And Nico is like the opposite of a gatekeeper. He's Mr. Inclusive. Like, roll up.
He's
hey,
like, yeah, show up, join the crew.
Right. Come on. Exactly. He probably recruited you to do
Yeah, he's like, you can audit my website.
Yeah. Exactly. Or, he sees the kid over there, like, twiddling his thumbs, like, with no shoes on, or like, hey, come join us. You want a hoop?
And it's shooting buckets from the top of a building. Just really, yeah.
Yes, we love it. We love it. I have a question for you, Chelsea. Was there something surprising about the season that you learned or that really stood out to you?
I don't know about surprising. I think it was like a learning thing I've talked to you about this before, but even with like the Julia episode where she talks about how Betsy and her had to figure out how to navigate that relationship, almost like it's a marriage. Like you have to use the same like principles and things to figure out how to communicate with each other. Like between you and me, like we had never actually been on the same team.
Yes.
We'd always been on like opposing teams.
True.
So for us to team up on Champion This and figure out how to work together and how to navigate that situation, I think was like really cool, and it was challenging.
Yeah,
because
totally.
like creative vision versus like strategy and execution.
Yes.
And like you and I have different personalities, but figuring out how to mold those together for us to ultimately create something that's like quality and provides value to the guests and just like I don't know, it was just like really fun to learn how to work with you.
Yeah.
And it was surprising. Like I got to learn how you work and how I work. Like I'm very project managery, where I was like, all right, like I'm also just an activator. So sometimes I do things like just to activate on it, whereas like you're a little more detail oriented, which is like it's a really cool way to figure out like how do we work together?
Yeah.
Like, how do we, like, I've never seen that side of you. So
yeah,
it was really
totally.
Cool.
I love that so much, and I totally agree. It is like the awesome thing is we're both such team women. We've been a part of teams for so long that we're like, we want the best for the team. And it's figuring out like, okay, Bree's a shooter and maybe she likes to drive right and she should work on her left a little bit more, but that's okay. I got her back. Like we're going to work on the left in the off season and it'll be fine.
Bree's DMing LeBron, trying to get him on her pod.
Right. And you have like, your strengths on the court and I think it's figuring out how to bring those together and be the strongest team is so, so fun. And, but it is like, there's a process to like knowing your personnel, we say on the court, and like knowing how to motivate one another and how to bring the best out of each other is another element of it as well. So it's been super fun. I know that's like an abstract metaphor,
with it not being our day job too. I think it's a little harder when it's your side hustle and you're trying to stay connected.
Yes.
Like you're like, we should have a meeting. Like we should get on the same page with this. Like outside of just our recording podcast. Like what are our goals?
Yes.
Like moving forward. So we're not just like peddling water,
yes.
starting water.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Was there any surprises for you?
So I would say surprises. That's a good question. Okay, definitely social media management. Wow. I don't know. In my head, I'm like, we'll just show up. We'll like record some great episodes. We're super like plugged, not to sound like conceited, but we have some great, we have some really great connections. Social media will figure itself out. And then to realize what goes into like creating a great social media presence, it's wild. Wow. Mad respect to all the like social media managers and content creators and influencers out there, because it is like, it's so a lot of work.
Consuming.
Yeah.
And, like even when you want to put your best foot forward, you're like, sometimes like, I don't know if I can. Like, I think this is the best foot I have forward. This is all I got.
Foot is forward. Exactly.
If you like the foot, whatever.
It's so true. Yeah.
I got a question for you. We talked about earlier, or in the intro, about like some of the challenges that we didn't know that we were going to face creating a podcast. Like, what were some of those challenges that for you that we kind of like stepped into?
Yeah, I think it really was just the amount of effort that it takes to build a podcast and to like do it well. So I think the challenge was being able to kind of understand what it takes to produce a quality podcast and the time and effort that it would take to do that. So I think there was a challenge, particularly in like the first 6 or 7 episodes, just figuring out what's the cadence of like trying to figure out how to edit episodes and but at the same time, like making sure we're recording new episodes with new guests and like even the time that goes
Trying
into
to get ahead.
trying to get ahead, making sure that we make the right ask to the people to come and join and be a part of it. So I think that was probably like the biggest challenge was just time managing and kind of figuring out like what it takes to do it more than anything else. But and you kind of touched on some of those for you as well. But
I think another one was finding our flow in the beginning, where we were figuring out like when to ask questions, what is the flow of the conversation, and figuring out how you talk, how I talk, and even like just things that we oversay. Sometimes that was kind of funny. We're like, hey, we say this a lot. Maybe we should dial it back.
We were laughing. Our husbands were making fun of us. They're like, your tagline should be, let's go.
Let's go, 100.
100. Because, wow, was that overused by me in particular. But, I'm just trying to bring the energy, trying to hype it up.
Yeah. But I think, like, anytime you listen to yourself speak, even, like, whether it's this, whether it's, like, anything, you're speaking out loud at an event, like, you learn your mannerisms or, like, the things that you do too much. Like, you try not to use those filler words and maybe move around too much. Sometimes I use my hands. Sometimes I clap and the audio like makes a sound and I'm like,
right?
Not great, Chelsea.
It's true. It's true. And listening to yourself back is always like wild.
There's a few where I was like, I sound really dumb.
No, I feel ya. To kind of go back quickly to like some of the content of the episode, not to jump around too much, but I did want to just circle back on if there were any other particular moments from guests that stood out to you. We touched on Matt Scott, Julia, Charlie, Chelsea, Matt, Nico.
My favorite, Audie Crooks from Iowa State. That one was really special.
Yeah.
Obviously because I'm a Cyclone, but also because she's so mature, she's so articulate, so charismatic, and a lot of the messages that she shared in that episode were, I think, so in tune with what was going on with like the Caitlin Clark era of things. Even because Audie Crooks, one of the things was that when she was 14, she had a huge social media platform. And because like all of her stuff was out there for the fan base and people to pick apart, there was a lot of people were picking apart things that weren't even sports related.
Yeah.
Like there's all these things. She's a 14-year-old kid playing basketball, and you have these grown adults out there just making fun of she isn't this, she isn't that, or like things that aren't even like rebounding, like actual sports IQ things. And I don't think people and fans fully realize what their comments and the effect that they have, especially on social media. They just kind of like throw those words out into the comment section, and they don't understand the impact that it has on human beings on the other end of the line, whether you're 14, whether you're 40, even like the Diana Taurasi stuff where people are like, why doesn't she just retire? Like, why is that even a question?
Yeah.
You don't say that to LeBron.
Right.
He comes in and he crushes it. He owns, he does his job. He's really good at his job, and they respect him.
Yep.
But there's just like all these different range of like human beings just trying to do what they love. And I think even with the Caitlin Clark stuff, there's so many different narratives that get exhausting at the end of the day that aren't even relevant to the sport.
Totally. Audie is so mature. I agree. And also like, just piggybacking off of that, I think she got a lot of flack, and a lot of it was also like body image related, and that's just like so dumb.
They don't do that to men.
You would never.
Not really.
It's just such a different, I think like the sexualization of women's bodies in sports and the like overemphasis on this and looks, it's just like so ridiculous and so out of place. And Audie is she is such a bucket on the court, and her game speaks for herself. And on top of that, she's beautiful and powerful and strong and all the things. And I love that she's really also bringing attention to that as well and being like, no, we're done with this. Don't talk about, like, this is not important. What's important is what we get done on the court.
Yeah. And it's so important to have role models like that.
Yes.
She's a freshman at Iowa State, and she's already such a huge role model to young ladies. And, and it's someone, as me, if I'm a parent, like, I want my kid to look up to her because
100%.
she knows who she is. And she stands her ground on the things that she believes, and she just like knows what really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Another woman who inspires me that was one of our guests is Nafisa Collier.
Mm-hmm.
What an incredible woman.
Mm-hmm.
WNBA
And
All-Star, mother, wife, founder of Unrivaled, the new women's basketball 3-on-3 professional league launching in 2025. And she's also championed women in a massive way, in particular championing women, single mothers from underserved areas. And although she herself is not a single mother, she has a massive heart for that. And it's just so powerful to see, in addition to her like climate action platform and some of the other stuff she does around that. But wow.
Equal athletes, yeah.
Yeah. What a woman. What a woman.
But also like Unrivaled, just creating a valued space for athletes, launching in 2025, creating a space for women to get paid what they deserve.
Yep.
And just like a lot of times you just wait for somebody else to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but her and Brianna Stewart actually just went at it and actually created it. Like it might be some weird 3-on-3. They're like, we're going to do full court. Like, what is that going to look like?
Right.
But they just like dove into it and created a platform. Kind of like, I mean, just like anybody who creates a platform, whether it's Rhymes with Odd or Rhymes with Odd or Champion This, like it's just, we're creating a platform for people to share their stories and to like do good. So like, I think just the fact that she's activating on that and like really leaning in is truly magical.
100%. Yeah. I love our girl. I also wanted to, I think the last group of guests that we didn't shout out yet was Brent and Lou.
Blaustein,
Yeah, Brent Suter, pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. Lou Blaustein, founder of Eco Athletes. Both really passionate about climate action. And in that episode, we talked a lot about climate action and the role of athletes, particularly around this topic that oftentimes like doesn't really get the attention. You know, we fight for racial equity or gender equity or whatever, but you know, the climate is in crisis, and these guys kind of using their positioning to show up and talk about it. And that was a really cool episode.
Yeah, and I think they talked about it in a very smooth way on such a polarizing topic.
Yes.
Where like athletes don't always want to advocate for things that kind of like people can gang up against you or see you doing something. Like one of the things was taking a flight to the game, like and the climate effect of that and how they're kind of hypocrites. Like we don't all live a clean life, but like there's different things that you can do in your day to day to make it better.
Right.
I think that was like Brent Suter was such a blue collar, down to earth guy, and he's a great representative for that.
Yeah.
And Lou, like you mentioned earlier today, he is a champion of champions.
Yes.
He is such a great guy, and he's just like, whatever you guys need. Like he's like shouting us out on LinkedIn and like tagging us on everything.
Love it.
I love both of them.
Yeah, totally. And I think with Brent as well, what was so cool is like Brent cannot be put in a box. Brent Suter is like MLB pitcher, Harvard graduate, studied, I think, environmental studies, but is like very into his Christian faith, which I think a lot of times, sadly, we've made this like environmental topic just, again, so politicized and annoying. And so it's just cool and refreshing to see like maybe on the outside, if you were to put him in a box, like you wouldn't necessarily put him in the box of like environmental activist, but that's the other thing I think is like so important, is being able to have nuanced conversations with people. And like, I don't know. I think he's really cool and showed that he is really more than an athlete. You can do many different things. And also like, don't let society or the media try to put you in this squished little box of like who you can be and what you can stand for. No, he's like the opposite of a box guy. Like, I will do what I want. And I love it.
Yes. I love it. So I think we covered kind of like touched on a little bit of everybody that we had.
Yeah, I think we got Charlie too, right?
Oh yeah, Charlie. One thing that stands out for me in his story was how I know my husband Ryan, I about said fiance. It's been a lot, just changed recently. If you notice one of our weeks where we didn't have an episode, I was off getting married.
Yeah.
But like I know my husband really enjoyed his episode because he tied in his why into pretty much like everything that he was doing. He used his faith as just kind of like that driving force behind everything that he wanted to do, even when he spoke about an instance where he was like, God, do you want me to give up this dream, this thing that I'm doing? And I'm like, if so, I will do that. And he was willing to kind of like give it all up for whatever God's vision was for him. And then God gave him I sent the spurs his way, and like something like just affirmations that your dreams are validated and the dreams are aligned with God's vision for what you want to do, and just being willing to sacrifice those things sometimes I think is like really cool.
Yeah, love. Yeah. And he also shared a message about really starting small. Nothing is too small to make a difference, right? Like start where you are. Sometimes I think we want to boil the ocean and like, well, if I'm going to do something, I better start my own nonprofit or be the president of whatever.
The United States. No,
president of the United States, or like Secretary General of the United Nations. Like, no, you can have an impact today, whether it's like going to the grocery store and maybe you buy some groceries for the person behind you, or you just give a kind word and a smile to your barista at a coffee shop, or whatever it is. Like, start with your here and now. And of course you can funnel that into bigger things, but like no action is too small to inspire the next person. So,
and the way you do the mundane things, I think almost matters way more than the things that are in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like obviously like how you act on the daily with strangers is more important than how you act when you're at the NBA All-Star, in front of NBA All-Star weekend, in front of people that are in like front office or professional athletes or things like that.
Yep. Yeah,
John what's Wooden, your heart space?
Yeah, it reminds me, I think I shared this on the pod already, but the John Wooden quote, like be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is who you really are. Your reputation is who people think you are. And yeah, love what you shared. I think it's huge. And all of our guests are so high character. And I think that it concludes our list of guests. I think we've been able to shout everyone out. If we think about now, fast forwarding to season 2, being able to launch with a whole new crew of guests, what gets you excited about the future of Champion This and about season 2?
I'm really excited just to continue sharing stories and to continue getting like tremendous and incredible stories from athletes and entertainers, getting a good mix of that. But I think just like there's always these golden nuggets of what that could look like. But also like I'm excited because most podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes, and we made it to, this is 14.
Let's go.
Woo.
There it is.
100.
100.
But just the fact that we made it this far and we stuck to it, because I think that a lot of times like people aren't consistent, and like I just value consistency in the people that I have in my circle, and us being consistent. Like I'm really proud of how we got this far. And season 2 can only get better because we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. And hopefully the video editing and the production and everything else just goes up, and eventually we'll be able to get some sponsors and partnerships. So like always looking.
As we look to the camera, AU sponsor.
Always looking for some sponsors to help elevate a good cause and share stories of really incredible human beings. And I just think like the audio and everything, like just from a technical standpoint, I think it's just going to be really great.
I agree.
And we have a lot of ideas that just we haven't activated on, but
they're coming.
We got a lot going. We got a lot coming.
They're coming, yes. And already we have some incredible guests that are going to come through. Don't necessarily need to tease them out too much, but we'll have some professional baseball players, more professional basketball players.
And hopefully some Olympians.
Some Olympians are going to be coming on, some Paralympians. So stay tuned. It's going to be an amazing season 2. And we're just so honored to, even that y'all tune in, like, honestly, that is
super grateful.
So grateful. And to be able to kind of even just share a little bit of time with you on your car ride or while you do the laundry or whatever. Thank you for supporting us and being a part of this journey.
And I think something that like we talk about all the time, we start this podcast and we're like, I want this many followers. I want to impact this many people. I want to get here and here, all our goals. But just to be able to impact, or if you can take away just one small thing from our podcast, like whether it's from Charlie's story or Julia's story, or even just from us and our personal stories, like that matters. And we'll keep doing the podcast just for that. But obviously we have goals, but it's just been such a tremendous, and the feedback and the love and the support from all of our people has been huge. So thank you for that.
100%. Well, with that, I think we will sign off for episode 14 of season 1, the finale. And stay tuned because we will be back very soon with season 2.
Yeah, so if you like this podcast, like, share, follow, send this podcast to your friend. If you have any guests that you want to hear from, we'd love to hear about that. If you want to refer anybody to be a guest on the podcast, we're also open to that. So reach out to us through any of the social platforms or through our email at championthispodcast@gmail.com.